Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We welcome all of us this evening. Every Tuesday evening, we follow these lessons from the book 40 Foundations of Imam al-Ghazali. May Allah have mercy on him and may we benefit from him. We took in the previous lesson what was related to some of the secrets or etiquettes of Hajj, the etiquettes of performing Hajj, and we also took that we also discussed that, or took the point where etiquettes include even involve how we deal with the animals that we would be riding on when going for Hajj. And from here we know that Islam gave each thing its due right. So even so, we have people nowadays saying, like the non-Muslims, who talk about human rights, and while they're the ones who neglect the human rights, and then they talk about animal rights, but they're the ones but then they forget all of the other rights. Our religion, our Sharia, our Islam, our Prophet ﷺ, he teaches us that we give all of existence its due right, the entire existence. So if you don't have an animal but you have a car, this car that you use, it has a right because it is a blessing. The chair that I'm sitting on, it has a right upon me. The shoes or that I'm wearing, they have a right upon me. The carpet that you sit on or you walk upon, it has a right over you. Your clothes that you wear, even so, every single thing is not just human rights or animal rights alone, but it is rights of all of existence. But the all-encompassing right for all of existence, the common right that we have, or every single thing has over us, is that we don't use that thing to disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. So this chair is an inanimate object. It doesn't feel or doesn't sense. I'm not saying it doesn't hear or see. It hears and it sees, because it will be a witness for the servant or against the servant. So we ask Allah that He makes it a witness for us, not a witness against us. Its right is that I don't use it to disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because it has been made subservient for me. Allah Azza wa Jal has made subservient whatever's in the heavens and the earth for us. Subservient means He's put it in our hands to use. It's there to serve us. It's as if it's at your service, is ready. So this chair, it's at your service. So how do you use it in disobeying? How do you use it to disobey the one who made it for you at your service? And this is how you measure every other thing when in Sharia. So what we covered, the seventh etiquette, will complete tonight the remaining etiquettes, and then we'll talk about the secrets of Hajj. So he says, Imam al-Ghazali, may Allah have mercy on him, the seventh etiquette from the etiquettes of performing Hajj is that you be You be content and happy with whatever money you're putting out, because because Hajj is the form of worship which requires a lot of money, the most money. There's no other worship that requires money. Everything's for free. Praying is for free. Making wudu is for free. Going to the mosque is for free. You don't have to pay any bills. Fasting is also for free. So Hajj is a form of worship. It's a form of worship that, in order for you to perform it, you need to pay money, and you're not paying a little bit amount. This is why he says that you should be happy and content with whatever money you're giving out. So what about this age that we're living? Nowadays, Hajj requires a great amount of money. It's true that Hajj is from Allah's mercy. It's from Allah's mercy. He has said that whoever is capable of doing it. But 5 years ago, a lot of people were able to do it because the costs were a lot less compared to today. The Hajj of this year or the year before, it was really expensive. So whoever was capable of doing it 5 years ago, it was like between 15 to 20,000, but it's like 40,000. So whoever was able to say, I can do it, today he's not able to do it. So for this reason, a person should make the most of the time that they're in. Make most of 5 before 5. This is from the greatest of the advices of the Prophet that Habib gives us, that if this is general advice, if it is said to you, give me advice. If anyone asks you, you advise them with two things. First advice is to tell them to fear Allah, so that you be part of that, of the blessings of being from all of the people, or the righteous people, the prophets, the salihin. They all advise people to fear Allah, be God conscious, so you'll be with them. The second advice is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You say, I advise you, or I counsel you with that which the Prophet counseled us. 5 before 5. Make most of 5 before 5. Your youth before your old age. Your wealth before your poverty. Your richness before poverty. Your health before your sickness. Your free time before being preoccupied. And your life before your death. This is the greatest of advices that are there. It's a summary of the Prophet's advices. You should memorize this hadith and let it be with you all the time. Advise yourself, your children, your friends, because it's from the greatest of things the Prophet ﷺ said. So then the author says he be happy with whatever money he's given out. Why? Because Hajj requires a big amount of money. Secondly, the wealth that you spend for the sake of Allah, it was created for this very purpose. Allah Azza wa Jal gave every single one of us something that's called rizq, or wealth, and from rizq there is one type of rich which is called money. So all of the money of Hajj is for the sake of Allah. Even though you be spending it on food and drinks and clothes to wear, but when you are in the state of ihram for Hajj, all that wealth, all that money has been transformed for your sake to Allah's sake. Like for instance, you're in ihram and when you decide to buy lunch, then you buying lunch becomes for the sake of Allah. Even though you eat before Hajj and after Hajj and during Hajj, but because you're in a state of ihram, it'll be for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And similarly, if you buy anything like water or tea or 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 or, or anything or an umbrella or juice or pay for the taxi for the transport, everything, all of that is for the sake of Allah Tabaraka Ta'ala. Also, because the one who's going for Hajj he has budgeted his expenses, how much he's going to spend on transportation, how much on hotels, how much for food and drinks. So this is his budget that he's put. But if were he to do the budget for other than Hajj, it won't be enough. But in Hajj he'll find barakah, and he'll find that the budget that he put, some of it even comes back as excess. But there's a condition. The condition is that you be happy with whatever money you put out. You don't count it. And secondly, you don't be upset or disappointed by the money that you given, by thinking, oh, I think I overpaid, I wanted a bus and I got or a taxi. They said they'll drop me from Mecca to Mina, and you budgeted a certain amount, and then they say it's 500 dirhams, and you say, why are you saying 500? And you say, I'm going to pay 200 only. And this is the only option. This is the only option you have. You can only pay 500 or not go. And so then when you give 500, then don't be upset. It's for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And so if it's for the sake of Allah, it will stay. It will come back to you. It will come back to you multifold. But we do these two conditions. The first condition is that you be happy when you give. And secondly, you don't be upset if it's overpriced or something like that. And whatever tiredness or difficulty he faces, he sees it as a sign of acceptance. There's no doubt that the one who's going for Hajj faces a lot of difficulties and tiredness and thirst and hunger. And if he finds water, he may find it water that's not cold. And if he's asking for tea, he gets tea without sugar, for instance. Or if he finds food, the food's not enough to satiate him. And if he finds a place to sleep, he sees that there's no air conditioning. So you won't find a perfect scenario. So you should, but you should never frown and never be disappointed and never be upset. And the etiquettes of Hajj is that when you come back from Hajj to your house or your place or your family, never ever speak about what you saw with that which Allah does not love. If you were to invite someone to your house, you accepted him, you hosted him, you fed him, and you're happy with this guest, and then this guest sat with you and ate with you, and then he leaves. So when he leaves, he goes to his family or friends, and he says, I went to this person's house and he hosted me. and his house is just terrible, or he didn't look good, or his food was like this. It's not permissible for you to do that. But let alone be a guest in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is a problem the Hujjaj fall into unintentionally. This is why when you go for Hajj, you should hold on. You should hold on to your tongue, because you will face a lot of problems. You find rush. You find people pushing you. You might find people yelling. Uh, it requires. This is why the Prophet ﷺ gave a reward. He says the one who went for Hajj and he didn't raise his voice and didn't say anything bad, he returns from Hajj as if he was a newborn baby, like no sins. What does Rafath mean? He doesn't say anything that does not befit a person, like a person, words that you wouldn't say in front of noble people. And also, he hasn't done any backbiting or any lying or anything like that. And he comes back as if he's a newborn. Like he comes back like the day his mother gave birth to him. It has two meanings. He comes back with no sins. And so it also means that you're like how you were when your mother gave birth to you, and all of us were born or came into this world, and we were in a state of our fitrah, our primordial nature. Everyone was brought into this world in that state, and you. But during your lifetime of how many 30, 40, 50 years, you soiled that soul of yours and changed that primordial nature of yours. But when you do Hajj with these two conditions, you return with the state of fitrah in which your mother gave birth to you. Imagine this, that you're pure, meaning shaitan has not even whispered into you. So you return. So you come back fresh, pure. So this is a great reward. And on top of that, all of your sins are forgiven. What is required? Hold on to your tongue and your eyes, of course, because somebody can lower his eyes, but tongue. Most of the Hujjaj who slip when it comes to their tongue. They complain about the weather, the transportation. This happens. Even us, because shaitan tries. The shaitan tries his best to take away that reward. First, he tries to stop you from going for Hajj by telling you it's expensive, there are diseases, you have a family. And then when you go, he tries his best to spoil your Hajj by saying something bad. It's like same thing he does when you fast. You're fasting all day. You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything bad all day until just 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left before Maghrib. A child comes and he just spills tea all over you, and then you start yelling at him, and then there goes your reward for fasting. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He doesn't make us be neglectful in our fasting, in our Hajj. Also, it is said that any discomfort or tiredness that you feel during while you're performing an act of worship, then that is as if you are in jihad, especially if these forms of worship are in the parts of the pillars of Islam, like Hajj. Nobody, prayer doesn't require uh, difficulty unless somebody is lazy. And even fasting doesn't have, uh, even fasting usually for people who work indoors and stuff, the only the only difficulty they face is hunger and thirst, and his hunger and thirst is not tiredness. You could be tired at but we're talking about tiredness, physical strain. That's only in Hajj. So whenever you feel that your body drained, that's actually as if you're doing that's part of the good deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, that they don't feel any discomfort or and any difficulty or any valley that they cross, except that it's written that they did a good deed. He didn't say a good deed is written for them. It's written, uh, uh, it says that we wrote a amal salih. It's as if you got it, as in like the whole good action was done. Prayer, is prayer a good deed or is it a righteous action? What is righteous action? Righteous action is, it has many meanings. Either it is a form of obedience, and obedience can be anything that you get 10 good deeds. And so all of these good deeds are part of one amal salih. Like prayer has many good deeds in it, which has standing and bowing and prostrating and reciting the Quran and sending salawat on the Prophet ﷺ and praising Allah Azza wa Jal. So it is many. So it's many forms of worship that are in this form called salah, prayer. Similarly is Hajj. Similarly, the tiredness that you feel in Hajj, or the physical drain you feel, that's also like this prayer. It's a whole form of worship. Even a spouse being a spouse tiring himself or herself in service to his family or her family is a form of worship, is an act of worship. It's also a student of knowledge feeling that physical strain of or tiredness in seeking knowledge is a form of worship. So when you experience this physical strain and tiredness, say this is a sign of acceptance. It's from the sign of acceptance that Allah Azza wa Jal makes you feel tired. And it may be that the Hajj, the one who's doing Hajj, may experience something worse. He might be he might face being might have might be he, he may be exposed to things like theft. Even in this situation, you should be careful not to say anything that would be considered as ill-mannered before Allah Azza wa Jal. Now there's nothing wrong to go and inform the police about to ask for your wealth. But when you go to complain, you don't say somebody stole my money. You say I think somebody might have taken my money by mistakenly, or I lost my money. It's similar. It's the same thing you do when you go to the mosque. when you go to the mosque and you don't find your slippers, you should say, "Oh, somebody took my slippers by mistake." Most people say, somebody stole my slippers. If you say that, you've immediately had a bad opinion of somebody, uh, and you'll be held accountable for that. And maybe that person has left and traveled thinking that these slippers that he's put on, he says, are his own slippers. And then you're saying all these things to yourself. Who is this person who doesn't fear Allah, who took my slippers, who stole my slippers? And then then he goes and does something even worse. He goes and steals somebody else's slippers. And then when you ask him, he blames the other person. So the early righteous Muslims, if they were to face something like this or experience something like this, they would excuse the other person and they would say, I forgive you, it's halal for you. And in fact, they would even make dua, oh Allah, make it a means for them to be obedient to you, whatever they took. It is said about Sayyidina Hassan al-Basri that he was walking somewhere and he had some money with him, and people were very frugal back then, and he had some money to buy food for his family. And then while he was walking, a thief came, snatched the money, and ran off. So Sayyidina Hassan al-Basri, he ran behind him, ran after him. So the thief is running, and Sayyidina Hassan al-Basri is running after him until the thief just the thief basically lost his stamina and he had to stop. So Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hassan al-Basri saw the thief getting tired, so he said, don't be afraid, just wait. And so the thief's like, why are you chasing me if you're telling me don't be afraid? And then Sayyidina Hassan al-Basri says to him, I want you to know that I've forgiven you. Why Hassan al-Basri wanted to go and tell him? Who knows why he wants? So that the thief, if he takes the money and he knows it's a haram, it's a shaitan who's duped him into, and he's using this money and he buys food and tea or feeds his family haram, and he knows the money is haram, so he's disobedient and he's feeding his family haram food. So Hassan Basri says to him, I forgive you and this money is halal for you. So this money becomes halal for him, and it becomes halal for his family as well. So look how their calculations are. Nobody can even somebody else would say, let him go and let him eat as a poison, and they make dua against that person and his family. He stole. What's the sin of his children? Some people say, let you witness this in your children. And this is brings to another topic. A person may oppress somebody and may oppress even a person's children. Now, this person, when a few steps ahead in his dua against the oppressor, he even made dua against the children of this oppressor. He should, and this is why his dua is not accepted, because he became an oppressor in his dua. When you make dua against, for instance, if somebody stole somebody else's money, that person has an option to forgive him, to seek his right back, and he can make dua against him. So you make dua against him with exactly the amount of what he took from you. So for instance, if he stole your money and then you say, oh Allah, kill him or destroy him or burn him or destroy his house. So you basically uh, uh, you've crossed the limit in the dua. So that's why his dua is not accepted, because and because Allah does not accept the dua of the oppressor. What is the solution? What is the solution if you feel oppressed? What do you say? You say, oh Allah, take my right from that person. Don't specify it. If you can't forgive, and I don't hold you accountable for that, because it's something very difficult to forgive somebody who's oppressed you, especially if the oppression is severe. When we ask Allah, He does not make us from the oppressors nor those who are oppressed. But there are small things that you can forgive people.
الملوك ليقصده الزوار من كل فج عميق شعثا غبرا متواضعين لرب البيت خضوعا لجلاله واستكانة لعزته مع الاعتراف بتنزهه عن أن يكتنفه بيت أو يحويه مكان ليكون ذلك أبلغ في رقهم وعبوديتهم، ولذلك وظف عليهم أعمالا غريبة لا تناسب الطبع والعقل ليكون إقدامهم عليها بحكم محض العبودية وامتثال الأمر من غير معاونة باعث آخر، وهذا سر عظيم في الاستعباد، ولذلك قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: لبيك بحجة حقا تعبدا ورقا. الفن الثاني إن هذا
نعم.
Imam Al-Ghazali now, may Allah have mercy on him and maybe benefit from him, he's talking about the secrets of Hajj. He says, as for the secrets of Hajj, there are many, but he'll summarize them into two types. When he says there are many, it's because these secrets are between a person and his Lord. The more etiquette and manners you have and humility you have before Allah, the more Allah will reveal to you these secrets. So the first type of Hajj, the first type of secret is it's a replacement or for asceticism, which is what the Christians had, which is to cut off completely from the world. This is why you hear about the previous nations, that there was somebody from the children of Israel, some of the rabbis, you'd hear that they worshipped Allah for 70 years. They didn't disobey Allah once. From the day they reached puberty, they were in their monastery or their place of worship. Some of them wouldn't marry. They wouldn't even marry. They wouldn't even have any desires, so they would be cut off. They would cut off all their desires. So the only desire they'd have would be for Allah Azza wa Jal, which is like as in desire. And we've heard a lot of hadith where the Prophet ﷺ talks about such people. So this asceticism of not marrying, of not buying and selling, and not mixing with people, sitting in his place of worship, Islam says no. There's no asceticism. There's jihad and there's intention. There's no asceticism for all of one's life. There's some things that you can do that's part of Sharia that would basically be enough for you to replace all that asceticism a person would do in the older nations of praying 70 years. So, like for instance, the Hajj, accepted Hajj, is like somebody spending 70 years in his monastery. Because the person who goes for Hajj is exposed to all of these different trials and tribulations, while the one who's sitting in his monastery has no issue. He's just sitting by himself. He's not tested. Second thing is fasting. Fasting is a replacement for this. Similarly, is jihad. Also, standing up in the night to pray is an alternative to this abject asceticism. Also, to be in isolation with Allah Azza wa Jal, and khalwa. Now, khalwa means that you make a portion of your day, even if it's 5 minutes, you isolate yourself with Allah. And even though we know that there are some tariqas of the Sufis, they put their murid in a khalwa, in an isolation. Some stay 40 days, or even a year, or even 2 years. But this is something for nurturing the nafs, the soul, and for other reasons, but it's not something that a person takes on completely all his life. Similarly, i'tikaf in the mosque. Then he mentions Bayt al-Atiq, and why it's called Atiq is because from the benefits of why is the Kaaba called Bayt al-Atiq is that if somebody does tawaf around the Kaaba, Allah does itq, or frees him or emancipates him from the frees him from the hellfire. If a person does tawaf around the Bayt al-Atiq, which is Kaaba, Allah frees his neck from the hellfire. So haram means a sacred place. Haram begins, the sanctity of Mecca begins in Mecca, but Masjid al-Haram is something else. It's within Mecca. As for Haram of Mecca, the sanctity of Mecca, and you notice that when you go to Mecca with your car, when you go from Jeddah, there's a place called Shumaisi where after this, you drive a few kilometers, and there's a sign that says the sacred border, or the border for of the sanctuary, meaning if you cross this boundary, you are now in sacred grounds, meaning now anything you do, any good deed you do, it's multiplied by 100,000. And you haven't even reached Masjid al-Haram. You haven't even reached Mecca, the city, but you're reaching the boundaries of Mecca. And this is Habib's counsel, that whoever gets the ability, gets the opportunity to reach here, it, as soon as you cross, start doing your tasbih, start doing zikr, because every single thing you do is multiplied 100,000. Even charity, if you have 100 dirhams, 1 dirham is like 100,000. 2 rakats is like you multiply that with 100,000, and you're just walking, you're just driving until you reach the haram, and the reward keeps multiplying. Even if you're fasting, it multiplies. If you're being pious good towards your parents, everything is being multiplied by 100,000. Feeding people, even giving tea to people, everything's multiplied 100,000 times. So for this reason, and the best thing for the person is prayer, because when a person prays in haram, or in the boundaries of haram, where 2 rakats are like for 100,000, it will be in your store of good deeds. Meaning, for instance, a person, who wasn't praying, he wasn't steadfast in this prayer all his life. He prayed some days, he didn't pray some days, and so until he reaches 50 and 60 years, he repents and he turns back to Allah, and then he realizes he didn't pray a single prayer from the day he reached puberty till he's 50 years old or 60 years old. So what do we say to such a person? You can obviously the ruling is to make up those prayers, but a person, it'd be too difficult to make up all those prayers. So when you go to Mecca, you have the opportunity to make up for those missed prayers. Every single prayer you pray is like 100,000 prayers, because in the Day of Judgment, if you miss one fard prayer, you'll be judged for that. What is the action you can do? Either you be punished for it if Allah doesn't forgive you, or you pay something in exchange. You give something in exchange. So the exchange is your voluntary acts of worship. So every fard is like a 70 of voluntary good deeds. So if a person misses 10 obligatory prayers, if you do that times 70, so that's 700 prayers. Remove 700 prayers from 100,000. That's what you get, and there's an exchange for praying in haram. So when you go to the haram, make the most of this, even if you're in your hotel, because even if you're in the hotel, you're still in the boundaries of the haram. So stay busy, stay occupied in these prayers, in these nawafil. So for instance, if you're praying duha, the least duha is 2 rakats, but make it 8. Make it 8 rakats. Why did you come all the way here so that you just pray 2 and then go back to your hotel? If you're tired of praying more than 2, then do zikr. If you get tired of doing zikr, then get up and pray and keep doing that. So these are the voluntary acts of worship. And similarly, the fard prayers. So if you were to pray Fajr in haram, it's as if you prayed 100,000 Fajr prayers. This is from Allah's generosity, because you are in a guest. You're a guest in the house. When people come to your house, you prepare a feast for them. But Allah hosts you in such a way that He gives you 100,000 prayers for just one prayer. So if you were to pray Fajr in Haram in congregation. How much would that be? 27 times. So it'll be 2.7 million. 27 times 100,000. Two point seven, 2,700,000. And if it's with siwak, with the toothstick, prayer with siwak is better than 70 prayers without siwak. So multiply 2.7 million with 70. How much is that? And what if it's in Ramadan? You multiply all of that by 1,000. So we praise Allah and thank Allah. Allah is most generous. Some people, unfortunately, they pray a few prayers and then they go and they go to the hotel. They're like, well, we paid so much for the hotel, let's make the most of it. This is 5-star with the buffet and the internet's on, and you can see the haram from your window. So you spent all that money to come and sit here and enjoy the view of haram from your balcony. You can stand and pray and see the haram. Pray and you'll see haram while praying. It is said that when you're praying in haram, even though the sunnah is to keep your gaze on the place where your head's going to be when you prostrate, but while you're in haram, it is recommended to look at the Kaaba when you're praying. Make the most of your presence in haram. Even you looking at the Kaaba is a gaze. Every time you look at the Kaaba, you're rewarded. Every time you blink, don't look here and there at the clock tower or look at the people. Look at the Kaaba. The Kaaba is in front of you. Look at the Kaaba, how beautiful it is. How it's wait, take me there. All this is you being in the as a guest of Allah, and even you smiling at people's faces. This every smile is multiplied by 100,000. Every salam is multiplied by 100,000. How much reward will you get? You help somebody by carrying their load. You gave somebody zamzam to drink. You bought a pack of dates for 30 dirhams. Each date is times 100,000 in terms of reward. It's as if you've fed 100,000 people. And whoever does the good deeds after eating the dates you give, all their reward comes to you as well. And if it's in Ramadan, then their fast, then their Taraweeh and their Tahajjud, all of that. So we ask Allah that He honors us. He grants us to do Hajj and visiting Sayyidina Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Then he says, they say Arafat reminds people of the day of resurrection. Arafat is close to the place called Batna Urana. Is a land which is said about that Allah brought the souls, spirits of all the people, all the children of Adam, and he said, took the oath from them, am I not your Lord? So when you go to Arafah, you intend to renew that oath, that trust, that contract, that I am your slave, O Lord, and I am also the Haji, the one who goes for Hajj, it is prohibited for him to hunt land animals, and it's prohibited for him to cut a tree, and he's not allowed to scare animals, even pigeons. So if you see sometimes in the haram, you see pigeons and they all gathered together. Don't don't scare them. Doesn't mean you don't walk. You walk your way, but without trying to scare them, because it's considered uh, scaring the pigeons of haram. Whoever enters haram is at peace, as Allah says in the Quran, whether it's a human or it's a bird. So this is why hunting is haram. The Quran has said, it's a big test. The Haji before, he was close to Mecca, and he's seeing a gazelle in front of him, and he's thinking, we can cook a nice mandi from this gazelle, and he can take it, or the gazelle could come to him, or the chicken could come right in front of him, but he's not able. So things that are right before them, and they can easily take them, and Allah says after that is only so that he knows who fears him in secret, except the hunting sea animals, that's permissible. So you bring your food with you and you leave, and this is obviously in this day and age, this is not something that's applicable or present. And also you be someone who's covered in dust, humbled, so that, and these are the secrets of Hajj, that you learn brokenness and humility for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal.
الفن الثاني أن هذا السفر وضع على مثال سفر الآخرة، فليتذكر المريد كل عمل من أعماله أمرا من أمور الآخرة موازيا له، فإن فيه تذكرة للمتذكر وعبرة للمستبصر. فتذكر من أول سفرك عند وداعك أهلك ووداع الأهل في سفرات البرج، ومن مفارقة الوطن الخروج من الدنيا، ومن ركوب الجمل وركوب الجنازة، ومن الالتفاف في أثواب الإحرام الالتفاف في أثواب الكذبة، ومن دخول البادية إلى الميقات ما بين الخروج من الدنيا إلى ميقات القيامة، ومن هول قطاع الطريق سؤال منكر ونكير، ومن سباع البوادي عقارب القبر وديدانه، ومن انفرادك عن أهلك وأقاربك وحشة القبر ووحدتهم، ومن التلبية إجابة نداء داعي الله عز وجل عند البعث، وكذلك في سائر الأعمال، فإن في كل عمل سرا وتحته رمزا يتنبه له كل عبد بقدر استعداده للتنبه بصفاء قلبه وقصور همته على مهمات الدين.
نعم. يقول
He says that from the secrets of Hajj is that this Hajj is in summary a journey, and this journey is to Allah Tabaraka Ta'ala, from yourself to Himself, from your essence to his essence, from your slavehood and to his lordship, from your impoverty to his wealth and his richness. So you journeying this journey of Hajj should remind you of your journey to the hereafter, which is through death. So when you go for Hajj, you need to take off your clothes when you do ihram. Uh, so 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 when you remember that when you die, that this dress will be taken off from you. Also, when you do ghusl before doing the ihram for Hajj or Umrah, you remember you will be washed when you die, and then when you put on the perfume, you will be perfume will put on you when you die. And when you put on the ihram, you remember that when you'll be put in your grave, you'll be draped in the coffin as well, and that's all you have, and all other forms of garments will be removed. It is also recommended not to put on any ring or any watch, because it's considered a kind of garment, even though some ulama say there's nothing wrong in it, but it's better being cautious not to wear any. As for watch for the time, these mobile phones are enough for you. Or you can buy these small clocks that you can put in your pocket, so that you are completely you have no form of beauty adornment on you. And we know that watches nowadays are more of an adornment than something to check the time from. Also, a person remembers that when he goes to the point of miqat, which is where they put on the ihram, it's as if he's reached his grave. Miqat means a place where people gather. This is a place where people come together to travel. People come before they travel. So similarly, when a person dies, there's a place where they get together, and that is the realm of the graves. And then it travels further. After people leave him, so when it's as if he when he starts traveling, he says labbaik Allahumma labbaik, at your service. You remember your death, and you remember your grave, and you remind yourself that nothing will give you any solace or happiness in your grave except your righteous deeds, and especially the actions that are between you and Allah. If you want to know what are the good deeds that will give you that intimacy in your grave, these are the actions that are between you and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, like prayer, like dhikr, like recitation of the Quran. These are the things that will give you that company in the grave, especially if you do these things by yourself, like the night prayer. Not unlike the 5 obligatory prayers which you pray in congregation, but the prayer of the night, this is you alone. Recitation of the Quran, you do on your own. You can do it in group, but you should have a portion where you read you read on your own, so that you feel that happiness, that joy when you're doing it. So the acts of worship that you do for Allah, in which you find joy, these are the things that will give you that joy in the grave. So prayer, dhikr, recitation of Quran, and Habib mentioned that Imam Ghazali said that if you recite Quran, then make yourself hear it, because there are angels and good spirits that hear you reciting the Quran. And the best thing that would give the person company and intimacy in his grave is the Quran. Why? Because most of the forms of worship, and most of the acts of worship, or most of the good deeds are in your book of deeds. You'll see them on the day of judgment when your book of deeds is presented before you, except the Quran. The Quran goes with you in your grave, and it also receives you once you come out of your grave, and it will give you glad tidings, and it gives you glad tidings at the moment you die. So Habib feels surprised at somebody who doesn't make time for Quran, and he can't believe somebody who says, I didn't find time to recite the Quran. How can you not find time to recite even one page of the Quran? This is a big lie. There are people who say, I didn't find time. I'm not saying to read 20 juz. I will believe, not 5, not 10, not 5, even one juz. Okay, we'll not consider one juz. But if you say, I didn't find time to even read one page in 24 hours, so Quran is the form of worship that will come with you to your grave. It will give you that company, that intimacy. It will take the form. All these chapters of the Quran will come in beautiful forms. In Surah Taha, Surah Baqarah, Surah Mulk, all these will come. The phone starts talking when you talk about the Quran. So we ask Allah that He makes our graves a garden from the gardens of paradise. It is said from the pleasures of grave, your time you spend in grave is recitation of Quran and even prayer. And why is prayer prescribed? For the recitation of Quran in it. Prayer has been prescribed for you to remember Allah through recitation of Quran. Quran is the best of dhikr. There's a lot Imam Ghazali mentions about the there's some secrets of Hajj. That Hajj is like a jihad of every weak person. The one who cannot do jihad for the sake of Allah, then his jihad is Hajj. This is why it is said, Hajj, that Hajj is the jihad of the women, because there's no jihad for women, and it's the jihad for the young, it's the jihad for the old people, and it's the jihad for the poor people. It's a form of jihad. Also, Hajj, Hajj unites you with the best people in the sight of Allah. You are with them from all over the world, whether you know them or not. Also, from the secrets of Hajj, that you are part of this wafd of Allah, meaning the Hajj, the people who are going for Hajj, they are the wafd of Allah. It's like you're like a guest of, or a like when you go to an exhibition, you're either a visitor or a guest. Also, when you go for Hajj, you're going on behalf of the entire Ummah. You are representing your family, your 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 anyone who's related to you. You, every one of us has neighbors, has friends, has colleagues, has family, and all the people you've ever met. If you do Hajj, you are representing them all. You're going on their behalf. You're even representing the city that you are coming from. This is from the secrets of Hajj. Also from the secrets of Hajj, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put forgiveness. Allah forgives the people through you, because the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah forgives the one who does Hajj, and the one who does Hajj makes dua for. So you have the ability to seek forgiveness for anyone. And this is the habit of the righteous Muslims, is that whenever the Hujjaj would return from Hajj, the righteous would invite them over. And for what reason? So that they would ask them to make dua. They would say, make Fatiha, write the Fatiha, and then they would welcome them, because they're receiving the guests of Allah, or people who were guests of Allah. We ask Allah that He makes us from them. This is from the secrets of Hajj. Also, everything that you do in Hajj is for the sake of Allah. Every money you spend, and then comes when you shave all of your hair. Also a symbolic of how you were the day you were born. We're not talking about the beard, we're talking about the hair on the head. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that just as how He has honored us to hear about the secrets of Hajj, that He honors us to perform the Hajj year after year with ease and well-being, and He also honors us to perform lots and lots of Umrah and visiting our Master Sayyidina Nabi Sallallahu. Oh Allah, accept us, accept the Hajj from the Hujjaj, and those who are visiting their visits, and those who are doing Umrah their Umrah. Oh Allah, protect the Hujjaj and those who are doing Umrah and those who come to visit from anywhere. Protect the Haram, protect both the Haram, protect anyone and everyone who's there to develop that place and to and 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 اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله. أخ محمد والأخت مفيدة. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته، وجزاكم الله خير جميعا. ما شاء الله، جزاكم الله خير. السيد عادل الهاشمي، وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته، وجزاكم الله خير على نياتكم. هذا يسأل، وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته، ما بال المدينة المنورة تكلمت عن مكة المكرمة والحرم المدينة فقط في المسجد النبوي أم يوجد حدود؟ نحن تكلمنا عن مكة لأن الدرس يتكلم عن هذا، عن الحج. وأما حرم مكة كذلك له حدود، نعم، في مكة المكرمة بمئة ألف، عفوا بألف. الصلاة في المسجد النبوي بمئة ألف.
We're talking about Haram because the topic is Hajj, but the Medina, the city of the Prophet also has a sacred sanctuary, and to pray there, it's the reward is multiplied 1,000 times.
هذا يسأل، يوجد من يشوش عن ثقة الأحاديث الموجودة في الإنترنت، وحتى ممكن يغيرون أو يزورونه في كتب. كيف نعرف الموثوق بغيره؟ طبعا أول شيء الإنترنت هذا بحر مفتوح لكل من حب ودب.
Internet is like an ocean. Allah Azza wa Jal has preserved the Sunnah through through people. Quran is protected from alteration, but Hadith faced alterations and people trying to plant in fake hadiths, but then Allah sent men who categorize the hadiths into trustworthy, non-trustworthy. So when it comes to the internet, you shouldn't rely on it unless you go to trustworthy sources, and other than that you should not take anything. And ahadith should only be taken from its due sources, meaning people with sanad.
تمر الأمة بتهدئات وأزمات وكوارث، نرجو دعاءكم الله يفضل عنا المسلمين. وذكر شيخنا الحبيب في
Habib Umar mentioned in one of his speeches, the meaning of which is that from the means for Muslims to receive victory is to be obedient to Allah. You, in your house, with your family, if you obey Allah, this will cause victory for the believers. Because some people say, what can I do with all the suffering? People say, what can I do to help the situation? You can make dua, you can be obedient and stopping all sins. And the Muslims who are suffering and not being punished, they're being honored. Not every calamity is a punishment. Were the Muslims defeated who fought side by side with the Prophet ﷺ? The Prophet ﷺ said that from the signs of the end of times, these things will happen. So you take your caution.
دم على أعمالك وأورادك وبرنامجك الذي جاء عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم والذي أخذته من شيوخك.
Be steadfast in your daily routine schedule, the things that you put. The most important is your 5 prayers. You pray on time in congregation with the right etiquettes, and neglecting them is neglecting the ummah, because they make dua against you. The prayer makes dua against the one who neglects prayer. Also, to be consistent in your daily routine schedule. How are you consistent? You give everyone their due right, your family, your wife, your children, your work, your neighbors, yourself. If your self needs, for instance, if your body needs certain care in terms of food or drink or sleep, give each person his due right. Some of the Sahabas, one of the Sahabas was like that. He was very strong. He would stay up all night. He wouldn't even come close to his wife. So his wife, so so he, this so this his friend came to visit him, and so he knocked at the door, and his wife opened the door. This was before the ruling for hijab came, and she said, he asked, where is your husband? And she's like, oh, he's in his own world. And as if she didn't care even how she appeared and looked, because her husband was so busy in worship. So he asked where he is, and so when he told the Prophet ﷺ about this, the Prophet ﷺ said that your body has a right over you, your wife has a right over you, so give everyone their due right. If you just want to stay up all night, then don't marry. Why marry and then say, I'm up all night praying and fasting, and this is not permissible. Imam Nawawi didn't marry because he knew himself. There are other Imams who didn't. It's true, some of the righteous people would stay up all night is because of a spiritual state that overcomes them. But we're not like them. So, and they won't stay in that state as well. They will come back to their normal state. What's the wisdom behind miqat in Hajj, in the intention of doing ihram? From the secrets of Hajj is to not ask about a logical reason behind things, because Hajj is one worship that requires you to come saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik, at your service my Lord. But if you ask what is the wisdom to stand at Arafah, what's the wisdom to throw the rocks, what is the wisdom to shave the head, what's the wisdom to do tawaf? So Hajj, all of it, it's complete abject humility and submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. But since you've asked for wisdom, all of those points, the miqat from where people enter to Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ has specified those points of miqat, those who come from Levant, those who come from Iraq, those who come from Egypt, everyone's coming from, and everyone has to pass through these 4 places, whether they come from by plane or by bus or by car. everyone has to go through these points of miqat. People do ihram from there. It's permissible for you to do ihram from your house. If a person, let's say, is in America or in India, he wants to do ihram, he has two options. He can do ihram at the miqat, which is close to Mecca, or you can do from your house. Why? Which one's easier? The easier one is to do from miqat, because miqat is close to Mecca. Because once you do ihram at home, at that moment everything becomes impermissible for you. So it's actually a means to make things easy for you. You come all the way to the miqat and then you put on your ihram and then you go straight into haram. But if you want to do it from home, there's nothing wrong in that. Not from your country, but even from your house, you can do it. It's permissible.
الله يكرمنا وإياكم في الحج إن شاء الله تعالى، نحج مع بعض إن شاء الله في حملة مع شيوخنا. صلى الله عليه وسلم محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.